Midnight whispers in the alleyway. Steel toe kicks on the pavement play. Silent moves like a ghost in flight. Hood up tight beneath the street light. Echoes scream, but the sirens lie. Justice sleeps while the wicked rise. Fists don't talk, they recite the law. Every hit leaves the guilty raw. Shadow justice in the neon glow. Dancing dark where the lost souls go. One wrong step and you're in my sight. I'm the judge in the dead of night. I'm the judge in the dead of night. Moonlight spills like a silver stain. Truth don't bend for the dollar's chain. Bloodstained rhythm, my heart still pure to the last wrong phase from the door. Concrete scars tell the tales untold. Every crack holds a story cold. Breath like smoke when the chase begins. No remorse when the sinner grins. Handcuffed dreams in a crooked town. Kings of ash wear a plastic crown. But the fire burn where the shadows creep. Out on west till the streets can sleep. Shadow justice in the neon glow. Dancing dark where the lost souls go. One wrong step and you're in my side. I'm the judge in the dead of night. I'm the judge in the dead of night.
I had to open my eyes to see who real and see who fake. I walked through the rain and still feel pain from rainy days. I see my pops laid in that casket, I felt all that pain. But all these people got the nerves to tell me that I changed. My grandma lost her only son, I gotta be the man. But lately I've been steady slack, it's time for things to change. A lot of people think y'all know me, y'all don't know a thing. Y'all only know just what I say and all that I portray. Lately I've been playing games and ain't no time for play. Broke as hell down bad, I need to find a play. Call me a dog, but I had a play and they put me on game. I can't be mad cause I should play, but we all could've ate. Sat at that table, see me starving and ate in my face. They called yourself a real nigga, I just can't relate. I put this on the dead and gone that we gon' make a way. Bad today, good tomorrow, give it all it takes. We all got our times, I guess I just got a little weight. Stay down when it's my time, y'all remember my name. I'll stay down when it's my time, y'all remember my name. I'll stay down when it's my time, y'all remember my name. No matter how many losses I take, I pick my head up, pave the way. People dying every day, long as I'm here, we gon' be straight. I'm on a money chasing mission, like a fat girl chasing cake. Loyalty, our values, everything, I'm talking to the frame. If you don't live by these rules, then you the type to be a snake. I put the pen right to the pad and wonder how much I relate. So if you say you don't relate to this, might never feel this pain. Like, you might never feel this pain. Like, feel like my back against the wall, this one. I had to open up my eyes to see the real and see the fake. I was walking through the rain and still feel pain from rainy days. I see my pops laid in that casket, still that pain ain't go away. But all these people got the nerves to come and tell me that I changed. My grandma lost her only son, so now I gotta be the man. But lately I've been steady slack, it's time for me to make a change. A lot of people think y'all know me, I swear y'all don't know a thing. Y'all only know what I say and all the things that I portray. Like, all the things that I portray.
All right, everybody. All right. I hope you guys are doing good this afternoon. I hope you're doing good. All right. I hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. I got my sun, right? The little vitamin D out there. I went and got some of that absorbed, right? Got my little, my drink and my two-step, getting fresh and renewed for the spring season. So I hope you guys are all tuning into your best selves and all of that. But I just wanted to come in today and I wanted to do specifically a afternoon show where I talked about, this Black Manosphere shift and how this original movement that was like, the original intention was for it to be a self-help movement, right? You're going to help young men to see that there is more to life, to learn to explore their hobbies, important things, to learn to build and develop their character, right? it's still debating. You can still debate what exactly the purpose of it is, but generally, it kind of started out as this like self-help. Let's give men a space to speak, to share with each other advice that they believe would help move each other forward, and etc. Right? And, all of that is cool, but unfortunately, it has completely shifted, and there's a number of things now that these spaces are doing now. On my last video, I covered a lot of some things that Anton Daniels says online. He has been saying, and how he's like recently come under fire. Right, his talking points are coming back to haunt him. Right, his talking points, his negative beliefs about the community, about Black women, all that's coming back to haunt him, as receipts tend to do. Right, anything that you say online is online forever, even if you delete it, even if you hide the stream. Right, somebody could have already saved it and put that information out there, and so that kind of, with that conversation coming back around, I think that there's more people listening now in terms of what he's been saying, how detrimental it is, and like kind of how there is like this sector online that did start as a self-help that found their way into the conversations of young people and have started to pollute those conversations. So I wanted to keep it lighthearted though, and I wanted to start with the conversation of swirling. Now, you guys saw in my thumbnail, right? In my thumbnail, we have Dr. Umar Johnson on the thumbnail. And the reason why I added Dr. Umar Johnson is because he's one of those figures, right? He's one of those people that when certain people in the Black community hear his name, they think progression, they think leader, they think diaspora and all this. But he's one of those people who his life, like his actual life actions, don't match the talking points that even he has online. And so because all of that has come to fruition and to people's realization over the last year and a half, I think that's when we met Anissa. Cynthia G she interviewed his daughter, and then it kind of just spiraled. Suddenly Anissa was all over online, and we were having these conversations about how Dr. Umar Johnson spent over a decade talking about how young people need to be educated, but he didn't even take the time out to educate his own children, right? He doesn't have an active place in his children's lives. And so as a lot of things are being revealed, and we were in the age of Aquarius started, and then all these revelations, and we started learning the true nature of people and things, right? And we started to see people. They talk about a veil, right? For those of you who've been watching and listening to conspiracy theories for over 2 decades now, then you know what I'm talking about, right? Starting to see everything that before powers that be and money made it difficult for the average person to see, right? And so I think Anton Daniels, Dr. Umar Johnson, all the revelations that we're getting about these people, not that it's really a revelation, right? Because Anton Daniels has been so blatantly anti-black woman from like the beginning and throughout, and he's been very consistent with that. I think in terms of revelation, I think Umar Johnson, I think other figures online who speak about things, Kevin Samuels, right? The kitten in heels, may he rest in dust and piss, right? He specifically used to talk about high value man and all these things, and how man is this and man is that, and woman needs to get in her rightful place and let the man lead. And we come to find out that he's earning $800 to his multiple K a month wife, right? So we learned that this figure who is literally, bigging up the heads of these average men, that they should be seeking out, these perfect women, and that they have to degrade and talk down to the average woman because that means she's average and nobody wants her, etc. Right? He's the same one that we came to learn later after he had kicked the bucket, that his life was not in any way something that, even based on his own talking points, that should be respected. And so there has been this shift, right? This movement that really did kind of start out with Kevin Samuels saying, men need to take a shower, clean in between their butt crack, wear a shirt that they ironed, get an education, get a job, be a provider, have something of value, right? He started off saying those things, and towards the end, he was sort of just kind of degrading black women and talking about how, or not even specifically saying black women, but that was his audience, right? And he would get on these campaigns where he would have a woman come up and, get on camera and show her body and tell us her dress size, right? All of that hypocrisy has kind of come full circle. And so we're seeing a lot of different conversations happening now. And so I did want to start off with the conversation of swirling, right? And I want to start off in a very silly way, right? I want to talk about some videos that I saw on the Love Don't Judge page. I don't know if you guys have seen that, right? But Love Don't Judge is this, I believe, TLC style show where, they're kind of looking at people that are in what some people would consider to be bizarre circumstances. And one of them that I'm going to show you today is bizarre, in fact. But we look at kind of people in these outside of the norm circumstances and like how people look at them and talk about it. And so I thought it was interesting that we kind of come to the whole swirling conversation and how, there's, plentiful swirling pages, but only certain type of swirling pages get certain type of attention. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And again, I'm keeping it nice and light. We're not getting into any heavy crime, but we are going to talk about how some of these conversations are happening online, what people are saying, and just sort of the double standard, I would say, in terms of the conversation of swirling. All right, so let's start here. Again, this is Love Don't Judge, and this is a woman who married a white man, and apparently on her social media, which I have seen them on YouTube and TikTok, on her social media, they get a lot of anti-black hatred and things like that, and people saying weird stuff. And so they talk about that. So let's kind of start off here with this. If you guys could do me a favor, hit the like button. Subscribe. All that is free. Share the video. All of these things are free. So please do that for me. I'll generally appreciate it. All right, let's get right into the conversation. Just putting up my little banners. And we'll start off with this video.
I just don't like that I'm a stay-at-home wife with a white husband.
Another boss slave.
At least he's gonna come back with the milk.
So yeah, call her a bed and I'm her master. Y'all could be swinging from the tree.
Another self-hating black woman with a clown.
You married an ape, you married a monkey. There was definitely disappointment in my family that I didn't end up with a black guy. Today, my brother is coming over.
He wasn't happy about my relationship with Zach.
I was just perplexed.
I'm Zach. This is my wife, Naya.
People judge our relationship because they think he's a white man that is controlling me. I am 25 years old.
I'm 38.
Zach and I first met at work.
We were both working in a grocery store. I noticed her right away. It wasn't for at least a year before I started making some moves. It did actually organically just turn into a relationship, but we then cemented it to be official. We've been together for 5 years now in total, and then married for the last year and a half. We decided Naya would just be a stay-at-home mom. I was making enough money to the point where she...
And now I'll say this, for most of what anybody is seeing right now, this appears to be a very wholesome story, right? Two people who obviously had an attraction to each other. They built roots. They started a family. They got married, all that, right? There's really nothing kind of too out there about these two. But they talk about the hatred and the messaging that they get online. But they also specifically talk about the response that they got from their family member. And I think it's interesting because she's going to bring her brother in to talk about it. But there's nothing special about this. Notice how she's with this man and she's not saying anything against black people. She's not saying, oh, black men are dusties, go get you a white man. You need to get your white man because he's white, because these black men, they don't know how to keep the community, blah, blah, blah. There's none of that, right? There's really none of that. It's really kind of just, she has this platform. And I will say, based on their TikTok and their YouTube shorts and things like that, they kind of feed into that like algorithm that's out there for interracial couples. I wouldn't say that they're specifically doing anything out there, kind of like how Rose or any of those people out there act. They're more so just kind of doing the niche family content, and then like the whole interracial couple part of it is what makes it like interesting and taboo online for them. But they do talk about the hate messages and how it makes them feel. So let's get into that.
Didn't have to work. and just be with our son during the day.
The type of videos that we post on TikTok and other platforms as well is just like more so, sometimes we do funny content and then sometimes we do trolling content in terms of we take comments that we see and we kind of like dig at it a bit, and it's kind of like a get back.
Trump people see all kinds of problems with this.
Imagine some of them do.
Another self-hating black woman with a clown.
That's just unnecessary.
Slave.
Yeah, I bought her a wedding ring. That's what I bought her. Y'all could be swinging from the tree. See, stuff like that is where it's like, this is why I really want to know who this person is and possibly contact law enforcement, because I take that as a straight up threat for real violence, because that is an insane thing to say. The worst reactions and comments I've gotten directed towards me is I'm a in some way.
I was only 20 when we got together.
You know, when you were in middle school, he was a grown man, right? What?
I mean, that's true.
I mean,
We're to do simple math. The real sickos out there target our son with horrible racist comments.
black mixed with anything is just black.
By American standards, that's true, you know. So that's why we're raising our son to know all about the black side of the family and know about black culture.
You see white folk in the comments, you see black folk in the comments, like, oh, at least he's gonna come back with the milk, you know, stuff like that, because it's this thing that's like, oh, in the black community, the dad.
I'm sorry. And you see, there's kind of that double-edged sword, which I think, right, when it comes to some of these swirling conversations, where yeah, you will have those hatred comments, and then you'll have those other people who they buy into that white savior complex, and so they start projecting their beliefs about a white savior onto a random couple online, and now they're like, oh, at least he's gonna come back home. We don't know how the course of this relationship is gonna play out, right? One thing I will say with this couple, I do think that they know that they kind of play into they know that they play into like the interracial, but not in a bad way, just kind of like an algorithm. Just like right now talking about Anton Daniels is an algorithm, right? I think for them, they understand that when they make content about their interracial relationship, they can get into an avenue. They can go down that interracial couple thing, you know, algorithm, for lack of a better word, but really just an avenue of making money online, where you get to talk about a specific subject, and talking about that actually gets you more revenue, more views. And so I think that's the avenue that they've kind of tapped into, and it's okay, they make money off of that, right? Nobody has a right. But yeah, Joshua, people are very sick. I think people get kind of fixated on these quote unquote taboo things, right? Because we're always looking for differences as humans. We're already apex predators, so we're trying to already assert our dominance even more, right? We already kind of are quote unquote rulers of the earth, right? The smartest, most intellectual species. And yet we're still looking for ways among humans to further delineate ourselves and put ourselves above others. So very annoying thing that we do as human beings. But let's continue.
I went to go get the milk and never came back. People completely tried to take my identity. You know, they're telling me I'm not a black woman. They're saying, oh, you married an ape, you married a monkey, you know, stuff like that. All types of like really things. You married that man for a green card. And so it's like, it blows my mind, because I felt like I had to prove that I was an American woman, born and raised to these people on the internet. It is what it is. I know my background, I know where I come from, and this is my home, so.
The judgment online is usually, sometimes it's just so over the top, like hateful, it's almost kind of comical. You wrote this really long paragraph, just filled with just awfulness. But I will say, the flip side of it, it's like 99% nothing but love from people out there. And so that's very appreciated, because we do see that stuff too. Love has no color. Totally. Yeah, man, you love who you love. It, you know, don't matter.
I need to find a husband like yours. Beautiful couple. Damn, you're a gorgeous couple.
Unconditional true love. Aw, thanks. I agree.
And it's nice, you know, even though they get a lot of negativity online, I think at least from what we see online, they're still trying to portray like a hey, we get a lot of hate, but we also get a lot of love, which makes us feel really confident about our relationship, which even though some people consider it taboo, it's still something that a lot of people support, right? And I do think when it comes to interracial dating, if we're being real, most of us in our daily lives are not going to be trying to challenge or talk down on our family members for dating out. Right? At the end of the day, you love who you love, right? I don't think any of us are looking to change that, but I do think the conversations and narratives online are very different, right? You do get a lot of hatred like this when it comes to Black women specifically, especially when they date white men. You know, they start trying to make the conversation of like, oh, you're gonna end up like XYZ Black women, that they never talk about their cases or care otherwise, unless they're trying to, you know, make a point about white men and Black women. So, you know, it's one of those things where once you see it, you start to recognize the patterns of how some people act online, and it's really just a way of trying to degrade people who are just looking for love. All right, so let's continue.
What do people assume when they see a Black woman being a housewife? I mean, easily, you could just say slavery, you know, like they see my husband's white, they see that I work in my home, like I'm taking care of our home, and they immediately go to the worst thing you can think of, a house slave, you know, and I've been called that a couple of times. Some examples of doubts that others have raised is that Zach, he's just using me, and, you know, like, he's gonna take advantage of me.
Anyone who's met us kind of will know right away. Naya runs this relationship. You know, I'm the backup quarterback, as it were. she runs the show.
There was definitely disappointment in my family that I didn't end up with a Black guy. My family were like, what are you doing with this older white man? You know, it was one time I received a lot of texts from a family member, and they thought I got kidnapped because I spent one night at Zach's place. And I was like, this is crazy. With our age gap, bringing this up to
And like I totally get the age gap thing, and I do think sometimes people kind of feed into that narrative. I think when Black men specifically date out, no one ever looks at it as like, oh, you know, predatory male, or actually, you know, if we're talking about the worst type of statistics, they do, right? But for the most part, nobody looks at it like this uneven dynamic. But I think when Black women date white men, I think people just kind of have that oh, colonizer, oh, you know, plantation, he stole her on the plantation. Like, they still have that old stupid mindset, and they apply it to these random couples online trying to make a point, right? And I do think maybe even her own family, they kind of bought into that whole, oh, you know, she went and stayed overnight, we don't know if she's gonna make it home type of like situation, when in reality any relationship can lead to you being deceased. It has nothing to do with the color, right? We know DV and violence against women is across the board, all socioeconomic status, racial groups. So I think there is some hyper focus on Black women and their safety when they date out. So I think that's what she's kind of talking about here. But I wanted to get to the part where she talked about her brother, because I thought that part was interesting. And then we're going to move on to another one that I thought was really, really funny. That also is a group of swirlers that I think exists.
my family, the concern was that my husband, he's trying to take advantage of me. So they were like, couldn't find nobody his own age. Today, my brother is coming over to discuss how he really felt about our relationship. He wasn't happy about my relationship with Zach. Thought it was weird I was dating someone 14 years older. I really don't know exactly like what he's gonna say.
When Shania first told me about Zach, let me just say, it was a confusing conversation, to say the least. I was a little shocked, first off, big age gap, and also white ginger man. I was just taken aback by it.
So, Kellen, what are some of the concerns that he had about?
Which, for me, like, even just kind of what he said, like, oh, I was so taken aback, white ginger man. It's like, first of all, I'm not even going to say that, but I don't understand what the surprise is. I think people have been swirling for long enough. At this point, Loving versus Virginia was the case that introduced or actually legalized or one of the cases that helped to legalize interracial dating. People have been dating out. What Black women have been dating other groups and marrying other groups for a very long time. So I don't understand what's so surprising, but I do think when it's Black women and a white person, that's when there's a lot of hyper focus. And we'll leave it at that. But I do think there's a lot more hyper focus when it's the flip side. Because what's the point? White and ginger, he loves your sister, right? Isn't that the only thing that should be important? I don't think he's against the guy, but I do think he was a little shocked that a Black woman would even, see herself in a long-term marriage with, someone who's perceived as so different than her.
Our relationship when I first brought it to your attention?
The obvious, the age gap. I just never really came across, an age gap like that before. And, I think, you were still like in college at the time. I was worried. Yeah.
Did you question why Zach would be interested in a 20-year-old?
Yeah, I definitely did. At this time where I just had never really come across an age gap relationship like that before, like I said, I had a lot of questions. Yeah, I was just a little perplexed, I guess.
How do you think your view of Zach has changed over time?
Well, I went from skeptical to being like just ecstatic that Zach's he's great. He's great for my sister, He's a good man. He takes care of her. He takes care of, their little boy, and he's a real friend to our family, and I feel comfortable around him. I can see what Shanae likes about him. He's there to support you. He's your rock. You build each other up.
That's so sweet.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and so ultimately in the end, she obviously has general support, I think, from her family. I think that's why she's confident and comfortable in this situation. But yeah, this was one of the ones that was on Love Don't Judge that I was like, this is like a fairly normal thing. I don't understand what was the Love Don't Judge one. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next video. So I wanted to cover another video from Love Don't Judge because I did share this earlier in the week. I think it was last week. And I shared this because I found it just to be so hilarious. All right. I just found it to be so funny. And I was like, we definitely have to talk about this swirling dynamic as well because it's too funny. It's too funny that this is like a thing, right? That there's so many people that will look at this and be like, oh, okay. There's like a whole part of, of these TLC shows that like we know there's going to be a Jamaican or Nigerian guy who is with a big wide white woman. So let's get into this one here. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that. I'll appreciate it.
How to twerk for a man who's half my age. I'm 55.
And I'm 29.
None of these young girls can compete with this. I'm from America. He is from Jamaica. My beautiful Jamaican man, oof, he makes me feel young again.
She thought it was a joke when I slide in her DM. People saying I'm only with her for the green card, but they're wrong. Respect this brother.
And let me just say, this video kind of reminds me of that, those guys that are kind of standing around. I forget. I think they're in Haiti, but they're like, "Sana my bitch, my bitch." They just don't sound like they speak English. That's what this video reminds me of. So, anyways, let's continue.
Even goes over dead bodies to get a green card.
What if he actually loves her with 3 question marks? Now, whose grandma is this? Come and get her, please. People say that I'm a grandma, but let me tell you, I be bubbling, twirling, getting it all out. Get it, let's go. Today, Javar's best friend Asha is coming over. It's gonna be interesting to hear what they have to say.
So I saw them and I was like, ooh, of course we could see that Kim is way older.
I wanna hear, what's your concerns? Be honest, tell me. What you making, babe?
Making some chicken and shrimp, baby.
Damn, my big show. Woo-hoo. Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Hey, I'm Javar.
And we fell in love on TikTok. Jamaican food, I love it. Especially when he cooks for me. His cook with so much love. It's the best food I'll ever taste. Oh my God. I'm actually 55 years old.
And I'm 29 years old.
After my passing my husband, I was feeling very sad, depressed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to stop there because, first of all, I want to just note she's changed physically, right? She has a glow about her now. So, is it possible that this Jamaican man actually loves her? Um, I'm not gonna speak to that, but I do think that there is like a lightness to her, and I do think like her look has changed a little bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything else.
Lonely. So I decided next and final chapter of my life, I was
Sorry, y'all, I was muted, but I just wanted to pause here because we go from just looking like your everyday grandma, like she's gonna bake you a really good apple pie, to her um turning into this caricature, where she's got her little Fashion Nova outfit on, and like I was saying, if you look at the belly button area, it's one of those shirts that's like supposed to be tied at the bottom and like cute or whatever, and this is just not age appropriate, right? Anyone with anyone with eyes can see that this is a delusional dynamic. This is a woman who way above her age went to go find a man who is going to do whatever she wants as long as she has a wallet. And that's what's happening here. I thought this one was interesting to add because I really do think that like some of the online swirling conversations, yes, when it comes to who, certain people are dating, it becomes a very serious, oh, be careful, predatory, da da da. And then we kind of flip over to the flip side of the male part, where this is where I do think sometimes, gender plays into it, where, you know, they're kind of looking at it like, oh, if he's gonna take one for the team, then he deserves it. They don't kind of look at this as exploitive the way it is, right? This is not a relationship that's based on love or wholesome. This is obviously somebody who is getting a bag for being with somebody's old grandma or auntie. All right, let's continue.
was going to live for me and my happiness. I joined TikTok, and that's how I ended up meeting Javar, and that's how we're here today.
She thought it was a joke when I slid in her DM.
We hear all the time if I could. Since Javar and I met last August, there has been so much people just really hating on our relationship. Come on, Granny, give bro his green card. He's working hard for it. You working hard for it?
Don't know.
You working hard? Okay, let's see. I don't know. I think you need to work a little bit harder. I ain't ready to give you that green card yet. What if he actually loves her with 3 question marks? Do you really love me, babe?
Of course, baby.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
Respect this brother. Even goes over dead bodies to get a green card.
As you can see, there's a lot to talk about green cards.
One thing I'll say is at least she waited until like she was older to have a midlife crisis. I mean, that's obviously what this is. When we saw her prior, she looked like a well-adjusted grandma. There was no signs of impending dementia. This obviously is something that's happening later in her life as she's realizing time has passed and she's trying to make herself feel good. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like beat down on these two too much. I really do think this is a dynamic of people, two desperate people, right? You have the man who's desperate for money. He comes from a place with little opportunity, little access, and I think she, she's used up all of her good years from her perspective, right? She's gotten older. She doesn't look as good as she thinks, and so she has to go to this extreme dynamic with a young man in order to feel loved. And I do think these types of swirling videos or these type of swirling conversations, they happen way more than the legitimate ones, right? You see a lot more of these like, oh, he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get to the United States or for paper or just for money, right? Or like, the synonymous Superman pic. Let me show you guys. What I have to type in to find this is crazy. I'm sorry, I'm trying to share with you guys, but I'm just literally losing my mind just trying to pull the picture up. So, okay. Oh, this is good. Here, let me open this. Actually, yeah, let me open this. Oh my god! Alright, sorry. I'm over here laughing instead of sharing with you guys what I'm looking at. So let me stop sharing this. And I'm instead gonna share this whole section of TikTok, I guess, that's dedicated to black dudes speaking up. Oh my god. Alright. I'm just, I'm just gonna show, I'm just gonna show you guys the one picture, the one picture that I'm trying to show you. I'm I'm over here. I'm able to contain myself. Okay. Oh my god. Ooh. Okay. You guys know what I'm. Okay. Sorry. Ooh. Okay. I'm sorry. This is like. Ooh. It's almost like people believe that these dudes have to pay a toll. Pay a toll of the freedom and opportunity. Ooh. All right. Let me stop now. Okay. I'm sorry. What gets me is that it's actually tax season right now. Okay, so we're gonna move on from that. Let me put some music. I can't stop myself from laughing. Whew.
Battles got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feet, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to
All right, I was trying to hold it together just so that I can move on. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for being patient with me because I could not. After I saw that picture and the music, it was too much. All right, so here we have Anton Daniels, and he is one of the figures now. I think when Kevin Samuels kind of kicked the bucket and took a dirt nap and stayed in that dirt nap, there was a vacuum, right? There was this space, this void left in the Black Manosphere, right? This space where it did start out as self-help. It did start out as, we're going to empower young men, we're going to give them advice, we're going to help them not become, a statistic or get caught up by women, into this like anti-woman, anti-black woman kind of rhetoric. And I think one thing that I would say the Black Manosphere doesn't understand is, as quote unquote the leaders of the community, right? When you get online and you bash black women or compare them to other racial groups, I mean, you're really speaking down on the male group of black men, right? That's the only thing you'd be speaking down on, right? Just like when white men complain about women, these same men will say, "Oh, he's talking about how white women have become liberal and blah blah blah," blah, right? When black men speak about black women and how they taking control of the community, they don't understand that by by osmosis, kind of what they're saying is that we don't even have the power or ability to stand up to our women, right? That the women, the black women, have become so powerful and strong over us that we can no longer, quote unquote, keep them in check. And this is this is the dynamic. This is why they constantly compare black women to other groups, and specifically they'll use people like Pearly Things to talk about women and what black women aren't doing right. Because it always, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. It comes down to wanting to shame women for, wanting freedom, wanting to be taught self-sufficiency, right, along with how to have successful relationships. Not teaching women to be codependent and, to look for a provider or anything like that, right? Teaching women to still have their independence and look for the healthiest relationship that they can. And I think that's not the agenda of some of these self-help groups, right? They're not telling young boys, hey, pick the best woman for you, make sure she has good character, make sure she respects you and love you. No, they're telling them to find the most beautiful, the baddest. They're just using language that lets you know that it's about getting attention. It's about making money and saying things that are going to be outlandish and get attention that aren't really beneficial to to the image of black people or even young men or young black men. All right, so let's get into Anton Daniels, and he likes to specifically pick up Pearly Fish, just Pearly Things, and use her as a way to speak down on black women. All right, so let's get into this.
From AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Just got done filming. Lead attorney, Pearly Things, helicopters. It's very beautiful over here. So we down in Miami doing what we do. A lot of people don't realize that even though you in Miami or you out of town or all of that other type of stuff, the entire time that I'm here, all I do is work. All I do is grind, hustle, and work. And so, I'm glad to be around other content creators that love to get it, love to grind, love to hustle and work. And so I think that Pearl, over time that we've built that relationship, she's proven herself to be a person that just works. So all she do is grind and she hustle and she work. And so I don't even know where she find time. So I thought that I worked a lot. She don't miss at all. Lead attorney, shout out to the lead. I am just very, very satisfied with seeing the growth of other content creators, and building those relationships and things like that, which leads me into the conversation that I want to have with you guys really quickly. And that is, a lot of y'all just don't have the work ethic. Hey, how you doing? A lot of people don't have the work ethic. They don't have the grind. They don't have the hustle. They don't have any of that. And so they spend the majority of their time worrying about and complaining about what everybody else is doing. And they don't spend time actually mastering what it is that they're doing in their craft. Let me say that one more time. They spend the majority of their time worrying about what everybody else is doing instead of spending their time mastering their craft. It's very awesome to be in a company of other content creators that's willing to grind and hustle. But part of the reason why I'm in a company of other content creators and business people that like to grind and hustle.
Now, keep in mind, right? So we know that right now Anton Daniels is going through a bit of karma. This video that I'm looking at is about 3 years old. And I would say at that time, his connection with Pearly Things was probably a little bit stronger than it is right now. Most people who have been following his, jock riding of her, of him, her, whatever you want to call that thing, Pearly Fish, you could see that it has started out with what he's doing right now. Like, oh, I'm going to post a random video and I'm going to tag her in it and say she's more successful than all the people that I'm working with, right? Anton, who we know has a history of working with people on, his current show right now, he's doing like a Club 9. He has his millionaire morning show where really he's just pretending to be uber successful and giving, empty platitudes and advice to people. All the way down to his Fight Club, where it was like just a random sector of people arguing online. Obviously this was tailored to the Black sectors online, where very niche but very small populations. But he often would weaponize these people like Pearly Things. And now, most of you, if you don't know just Pearly Things, you're probably like, well, what does this random white woman have to do with it? Let's listen to the rest of this video from Anton, and then I'm going to play some content that Pearly Things created. And I want you guys to tell me, who do you think it sounds like is influencing a lot of her talking points, right? Just listen to what he has to say and then what she has to say, and see who do you think is influencing some of what she has to say. Not to say that she's taking from Black men. I think she really just uses the opportunity that is given to her to make her points. But just see how similar they sound.
Hustle is because I myself, I am cut of that same cloth. I'm going to use them for an example, right? Because I often at times use myself as an example, but I'm going to use them for an example in this particular instance. A lot of people think that it was just happenstance, or they caught the algorithm or anything like that. And I think that that would be doing them a disservice. It's doing them a disservice to say that that's the reason why they are successful. Why they're successful is because they've endured long enough and they've actually worked their butts off. And then when the opportunity presented itself, or when it started to catch, they were already in stride and in motion. And a lot of people, they think that luck is just supposed to happen to them, and luck is not what happens to you, it's what you make it. We're all in the same area, all having different conversations, all participating on each other's platform. And obviously, people like Pearl, they're much bigger and things like that. But the reality is that all of us was rocking or messing with each other when some of us only had 5 and 10,000 subscribers and stuff like that. And so, just to see the growth and to be happy for other people's success doesn't take away from my success, but it also speaks to the...
And listening to him right now, I want to know, has he ever created a video titled why at Mika, or at whatever her title is, or at Island Girl Q is more successful than you guys? Right? Somebody point me in a direction. If he has videos like this, somebody tell me, why is it always that when Anton is weaponizing a woman, right, specifically against Black women, it's always in this way where he's saying what he's not trying to say. Oh, she has work ethic. All these other people that I work around, they're always worried about everything but their own self. Me and her are cut from the same cloth. It's almost like he's praising her and saying like, hey, you should be jealous of her because she's doing something to be successful. Of all the women that he's worked with, who, have flown out to see him, who have built a brand for and with him, right? All of those women, I've never seen him tag them in a stream and say, this is why this content creator is successful. I learned more about some of these content creators from, people who are covering their shows, like Taz, for example. Like, I didn't know anything about Mika and her music career, or even her channel, right? I've seen her on panels, but to me, she was just some random woman on a panel. I've never seen him specifically say, oh, Mika is a hard worker. Mika is better than me. Oh, Mika is more successful. Or even why Island Girl Q is more successful than you guys. Right? These people that he uses as puppeteers, he doesn't even support them the way he does, at least online, Just Pearly Things. Right? And it begs a question. What is he really trying to say when he tags Pearly Things in a video and says she's more successful than, quote unquote, you, whoever you is, right? All right, let's continue.
Character of the people that I surround myself with, because I only want to be around people that got that work ethic. They got that dog. They got that grind. They got that hustle, and they're willing to push themselves beyond what other people are willing to do in order to get the results. And very few people are willing to do that. Very few people are willing to grind. Very few people are willing to hustle. And you get out of this game, not just content creation and business and life It's not about what you do when the camera is on. It's whether or not you got a camera in the first place. It's whether or not you're willing to push. It's whether or not you're willing to grind. And very few people are willing to put that work in and put that effort in order to really get to the results. And then some people, let's just be real, some people is just not going to blow because they don't have it. Everybody is not meant to be a content creator.
Yeah, apparently he's saying that he believes that Pearly thinks she has what it takes to be a content creator, right? She speaks in negative ways about women. She makes a lot of clickbait titles and content. I guess that means she has what it takes. Now I don't know why I can't see this in my own chat. Like, Restream is being very weird, but I wanted to read this here. Ultra Mega American said, "Just manly things. It's no secret she gets all her talking points from men. So in a way, he's a parallel to Myron Gaines." That's an interesting take. Taz says, "This is the one." Oh my gosh, guys. I'm over here on mute reading the comments. So I just wanted to read the comments because I can't highlight them. They're not showing up in my Restream studio for some reason. But Ultra Mag American said, "Just manly things. It's no secret she gets all her talking points from men." Yeah, she's financed by her father, but she's also like been kind of pushed out there on the mainstream by Anton Daniels, or pushed not maybe in the mainstream, but in some of these other sectors by Anton Daniels. Now, Go B1 Task says this is the one where he was sneak dissing Six and B Taylor. And absolutely, right? I think with the context that you give, it's very clear to see that, right? That he was obviously kind of trying to sneak diss all the black women that he's kind of worked with, and he's never put them on, right? You mentioned in one of your videos, Taz, before that he never shared them. Like, we never even saw him promoting, oh, go follow Mika, the messy conservative, or go support Island Girl Q, or go support someone else. He never did that. So in comparison to now, or 3 years ago, where he made a video type, "This is why Pearly thinks is more successful than you guys." Yeah, when you add that context, it becomes very clear that he was sneak dissing the black women that he was working with, right? And I think that's one major thing that Anton Daniels has done online. He's feuded with people, and specifically black people and black women, and he does it in an underhanded way where he's not really gonna say, "Oh, Just Pearly thinks is better than black women." He's just gonna like make it real clear, right? Especially he'll do it in the middle of his beefs with, a B Taylor or a Six the Gods, because he fell out with all those women. So this probably fell in the timeline right when he was falling out with those women. So thank you for adding that context here. Let's continue.
Some people are, some people aren't. Some people can't pivot. Some people are too busy trying to do what everybody else is doing and it doesn't work for them. And they not getting the results. And then as a result, they never gonna blow, or they just gonna stay in mediocre land until they learn how to reinvent themselves and then really catch their audience by being the thing that they're supposed to be instead of trying to be what everybody else is trying to be. One thing that you can say is unique about every content creator that eventually blows is that they are uniquely them. They may have a different spin on the different content or the different subjects and things like that. But I'm just going to tell you, nothing that happens, especially maybe for a couple people here and there, but nothing that happens for most people happens as a result of circumstance. It happens because people are authentic and people grind and people hustle and they working harder than you and they doing more than you.
And let's be real, that's not even remotely true, right? Even in the real world, we know a lot of times nepotism, who you know, is a lot more important than what you know in particular. So I think when he starts to say, "Oh, she's blowing up because she works harder than you," no, that's not necessary. That's not necessarily true, right? But she is willing to say those things and do those things and have those conversations that is going to get more attention because she's saying weird and gross things. Like, for example, how she talks about black women based off of Anton Daniels and other people's talking points, right? And I wanted to pivot to the next video actually because he's really not saying much else besides sneak dissing and being a hater. But I wanted to pivot to some of Pearly's videos. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of this content that I'm seeing now is, maybe 8 or 9 months old. And this is who she's become, right? She started out kind of being on these panels with black men and just saying ridiculous and outrageous things. And she's kind of evolved into this like Trojan horse troll, foot face looking mammy, really, who is really going to get on the same anti-black talking points that some of these, these black men online, especially Anton Daniels type. She was she was one of his favorites. Like putting her on a panel to talk crap to black women was something that an Anton Daniels or, like, for example, a Fatty or a Ilkin Ali, this is the things that those type of channels actually like to do. That's how they get the content out and make it interesting for people. So, all right, I want to look at some commentary because for some reason my studio is not showing all of this. But Lana Love says, yes, she is financed by her father. And then Ultra Maga says there's a reason the saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know exists. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Like, it really has nothing to do with your individual talent. Like, sometimes it really just is who you know. Maybe you have connection, power, money, access, right? You're able to spend all of that extra time online building a channel up while it's not profitable, going to these sectors and getting on a panel with a Fatty or Ilkin Ali or Anton Daniels and having these, ridiculous conversations that are going to go viral. All right, so let's get into that. She obviously went on a panel with the sole intention of getting people upset or like stirring up a reaction. You guys can see here, we got Jazz Noel on the panel, Fatty, Ilkin Ali, Tyranny, right? Melon Legacy. These are people that are kind of in that Anton Daniels saga and are being talked about a lot right now. So let's see what Pearly Fish has to say, or what she went up there and tried to say with Jazz Noel. I can't remember if this was one that was covered by Chaz. I think you might have covered a little bit of this one. I'm not sure. But let's get into this. Pearl, in her title, because this is Pearl Talks, which is in a spin-off channel of hers, she says, Pearl cooked, triggered black feminists. Oof. All right, let's get into it.
I mean, I've interviewed 1,000 people. A good chunk of them did, procreate and date men with felonies. That's not uncommon. So,
okay,
especially in the black community, if we're going to be honest, that's
well, yeah. Well, I was going to say,
so I don't know why you're pretending to not know what I'm talking about. You can. So now this is what started the whole fight. Now, does it seem like I'm doing this to insult her or attack her? All I want her to do is be intellectually honest and be like, look, because
so intellectually honest. What about what? About what, Pearly? What exactly how could you ask somebody to be intellectually honest when you, as a white woman who literally is living off of your father's money, is getting online and talking about how feminism is a bad thing? I mean, you're one of few women who is in the higher earning, or not even higher earning, but just being connected to someone with a higher earning potential. And your first thing that you decide to do with your privilege is to get online and talk about how feminism is ruining things. I mean, this is a woman who's never, ever gotten to use her looks to she's never gotten to use her looks for privilege. It's always been money. Of course she's going to jump online and say something like this, but I think it's interesting that she kind of sets herself up to be this moral person who's going to speak on women and things like that. Now, Lana Love says she gets dragged over on the white side of the manosphere. That's partially true. One of the channels that I covered, Homath, they actually got together and did content. So I do think, yeah, there might be some people who really, really don't like Pearl because, she's dishonest and she's a clickbait, content creator, and, she's always trying to use the worst talking points. I think that's why some people don't like her. But she does get support from some Manosphere channels. So let's get into it.
Let's say she doesn't know in her personal life black women that date criminals. Are we going to pretend we're not, like, you didn't see all these rappers with a billion baby mamas that black women love? Really? I mean,
I want her to name 4. Because the thing that bothers me about a type like this is that this is who black men love to grab online. I'm not saying in general, but this is who these coons, these MAGA coons online like to go and grab. They grab these women who they're not even desirable women. They're literally just saying things in order to kind of feed into the talking point. But this is who they go and grab. And she's not even funny or intelligent or cute or anything. She's really just a dusty, raggedy person who has really nothing of value to say. But this is what she's choosing to say with her platform nonetheless.
I don't really follow the rap scene, but like, we're not going to talk about, what is it? Pooh Shiesty, King Von. And I'm not saying, I'm sure white women dip in there too. That would be very exciting for a white woman. But let's not pretend that's not more common in the black community than the white. It just is. Good old Jazz. That's her whole MO. She does this on every show she's on. Pearl, what's wrong with the blacks? And I just don't like dishonesty.
What
you
you're
can
talking
gaslight
about,
these simps, but you can't gaslight me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think you know anything about the black community, but I will say.
Now look.
And Jazz Noel didn't lie. You don't know what she doesn't know a goddamn thing about the black community. All she knows is the dumb shit that she hears in these conversations with a lot of the times the people who are speaking for black people in the black community, they're not even really good representations of that. But Jazz Noel's on point. You don't know a goddamn she doesn't know a thing about the black community. Right? But she hangs out enough in these spaces that she feels comfortable speaking like this about the community.
Half this panel thinks this is funny.
About the white community, it's a lot of white women that find, men who kill other women attractive. Those are the women that were
true, but I won't gaslight you about it. I won't gaslight you. And so that's the thing. She says stuff about white women, and white people, we can handle this. I say, they'll say, but Pearl, let's talk about white issues. We can. I talk about conservative Christians all the time that I would say are primarily white. All the time. But, I actually think I'm nicer to black people because I'm honest. All these other white people will lie, but they're thinking the same thing. They see the crackheads on the street.
Yep. So this is definitely her little Trump's talking point right here, right? Oh, what do you call it? I'm not gonna lie to black people. I'm gonna be honest. All you black women, all you do is go, you find criminals, and you guys you guys have a baby daddy to do. Every talking point that she hears from these dusties, every last one. Right? She's taken that coon's talking point and she's spun it up and around. Right? She's saying, oh, well, white people can handle it. White people can handle it. Really? Really? So you go to white spaces and you troll white women and do that. No, the majority of the times that I hear about Pearly things is when she's dealing with a bandit or someone in that weird sector sphere where they're manosphere / black manosphere / just kind of manosphere in general, and they're talking about women and feminism and how that's affected relationships. Empress Kia says, oh, James Madison is projection. Yes, James Madison, she doesn't like to say anything that she believes would be speaking positively against women. And specifically, she's choosing in this video to talk the way she is about black women because look at the panel that she's reviewing.
I mean, and I are there white crackheads? Yeah, but let's be real about the majority here. I would say that's true. That's true. There are white women that do that.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Hold on, real quick. Hey, hold on. I'm gonna say it again. Hold on, real quick. I
can't hear you while I'm talking. I don't even know why she even brought up the black community.
You can't say that.
Now, mind you, he's not offended here.
So she's going to literally say, oh, he's not offended. He doesn't have a problem with what I'm saying. Ilkin Ali, Fatty, these types of channels, they do the anti-black content. They do the anti-black woman content. They do all that. And actually live on their shows, they will try to check a black woman and be like, oh, you let her talk. You see how he's literally speaking over Jazz Noel and saying, let her talk instead of letting them have the discourse, right? Black people can't handle it. That's why they mad all the time. Randy, show me some black people that are mad about anything that you and your saltine friends have to say. Show me, please, Randy. I'm actually annoyed that I can't what do you call it? Share the comments. Let me see if I refresh my stream here, if it'll let me see the comments. I can't really don't see any comments like at all, and it's irritating me. So let me see if I can do that. Hold on. All right. Let me see now. Oh, okay. Not really. I don't know why it's not showing me all my chat, which is okay. I'm just gonna let it be at this point. But let me go back to the video with Pearly Things. And I just wanted to look at this comment here because Empress Kia said, Anton mirrored his panels from her. I think he likes to bring Pearly Things around some of these black sectors and tell her where to go and introduce her to certain channels because he knows that those channels are going to create a space for her to come there and like literally just make her own point, like get on the panel and start having this monologue where she talks about black women. I think that's what she was trying to do with Jazz Noel on the panel. And Jazz really wasn't having it. She was not interested in what Pearly Fish was saying.
Here, he only gets offended when the women start nagging him. You're going to see he's not offended in the beginning. He's chill
until she lands. Like I want you to like. Right now, we got strong personalities on the panel. Please let the person finish and then respond. You can't say the person interrupted you and why you talking over me while I'm talking if you already interrupted the person. Let her finish. You the first person that can respond to her, Jazz.
So notice again, they do this whole like chastising on these panels, and that's why I don't even bother with any of these sectors. Like especially because I spent most of my time trolling, I started to notice the patterns where it's like, oh, let her talk. We'll give you a chance to respond. Just give her the opportunity, and like kind of treating her and all the other black women on the panel as if they're causing a ruckus or causing the issues that are causing the breakdown in communication on the panel. So let's continue. I want to cover a little bit more of this, and I do have to bounce after. So let's get a few more minutes in.
You're the first person. Just let her land.
I did let her land.
No, you didn't let her land, Jazz.
Okay.
It's fine. Let's start now.
Okay, well, you asked me why I brought it up, the black community, because you're black, so you would know. Because like I don't. The whole panel's laughing. Look, I mean, it's a fair assumption. Look.
No, the panel's laughing because you sound stupid, right? You can call it a fair assumption, but you sound dumb when you go into these conversations and you try to make things that are just kind of relationship things or conversations about men and women. You try to make them racial. That's why they're laughing, because they think you're making a joke, because that's what it sounds like.
I think that if people assumed I came from a rich white background or a wealthy, a middle upper class, they would be right. If is it fair to assume that black people know black people and that they see black culture on TV and in the media? I mean, I think that's a fair assumption. I really do. It's like the same reason you brought up the white community, because I'm white. Yeah, and she did the same thing.
I didn't If you're done, first of all, that's very disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful.
Now, mind you, these two start crashing out. And instead, this is how monsters.
So she's crashing out because she's telling you, one, you have a stupid smirk on your face, and two, you're saying a lot of inflammatory things. This is her crashing out. Because as far as I'm concerned, her little ADHD self, she can't even let what happened play without trying to give some mansplain of her own. Because I'm not going to listen to this human booger just trying to mansplain what she was doing on this planet with Jazz Noel. But we can see very clearly that she wasn't there to have a genuine discussion. She was there to troll. She was there to give her raggedy, hideous face, whatever point of view. She wasn't there to have a genuine conversation, So anyways, let's continue.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. You just think, could you punch?
And she's just like Umar, she's just like Umar and Anton, just kind of rambling. She's not saying anything of value. You know, she kind of was just gaslighting the fact that Jazz and every other woman on the panel could tell that she wasn't trying to have a genuine conversation, that she was there to troll and be funny and be the center of attention, like she does every time she goes to the bandit sector. It's autism or something. Yeah, I'm not even trying to throw autism under the bus, but there's something wrong with her. Like, she lacks social cues. She lacks social awareness. She really does think that the fact that her channel is profitable for saying some of these bizarre things makes everything that she says okay, and it does not. I don't care if Anton Daniels calls you successful. The fact that you have to get up here and say such foolishness and clearly inflammatory things just to even get some attention, it says a lot about her. I never ever been around a white woman only in school class. And that's probably true for a lot of black people, right? They probably don't even have experience with a pearly thing to begin with. So that's even more why some of the things she says can come across like rage bait or like clickbait type of thing. Oh, black women, pearly cook the black feminists, right? She's trying to get black women to come and engage with her. And a lot of the times that's not who engages with her. It's usually going to be these manosphere spaces and, you know, the women that don't understand what the play is on these panels.
She's the one that did the wrong thing.
It's not.
He was begging me to come on the show.
Hey, friends, we don't need that leaves. Jess can handle it. Let her handle it.
Notice she just said they were begging me. Yes, that's the only people who are going to beg you to go on their show. It's going to be these dusty bandits who are trying to make a point towards and about black women. That's the only ones who are going to beg you to go on their show. No man who actually has a valuable platform is going to be begging just pearly things. Of all people in the world, with all the faces in the world, they're going to choose the one with the most disgusting face. Why would they? I bet you some of these manosphere channels would rather even prefer talking to a Jazz Noel than to talk to pearly things. She doesn't have anything desirable that a woman has. She's not attractive. I don't think she's feminine, even though black men love to use her in these online spaces to talk to and down towards black women. She doesn't have anything of value, right, based off of the talking point. So when she is being shared by Manosphere, a lot of the times you know it's only because of her anti-woman rhetoric. Oh, you said Randy. Well, Randy might be autistic as well. But I do think like this weird, awkward, I'm going to speak down on certain communities for clickbait and content. I do think there's something socially awkward and antisocial about that as well.
Go ahead.
So like I said,
we're offended. Next.
Go ahead, Jess. Let Jess finish, please. Let's go ahead, Jess.
I will. Yeah, go ahead.
Jess,
so like I said, we were speaking about relationships in general. Nobody said anything about black or white until you brought it up, and for what reason I don't know. It didn't add anything to the conversation. First of all, you're speaking on the nature of women and how we are all naturally attracted to men who are criminals, and then you made a point to say, excuse me, no, that is not the case at all for black women. Now, if you're talking about people that are in poverty, people that live in certain situations and
60%. Now, again, it's going to completely derail the conversation because she's going to keep saying, why do you keep talking about black people? It's just like.
And again, Jazz Noel is calling her out, rightfully so, right? We just seen 7 minutes of pearly things use every possible talking point that you hear from some of these black manosphere / black MAGA spaces, right? She just used every single last one. Now, I wanted to move on to another figure online who, again, started out as self-help, right? I think Dr. Umar Johnson started out wanting to help people create a space, a safe educational space for black boys, right? He wanted to start with his FDMG Academy for Boys, and he kind of elevated towards a school. And then it was just a school for boys, and then the other building was going to be a school for girls, and so it was going to be this thing where he had a school, one for black girls and black boys, and he just wanted to save the children. And this was Umar's whole perspective. And I just wanted to say that even Umar Johnson, right, who oops, sorry guys. Even Umar Johnson, who actually himself was also, he started off as like a self-help, like, hey parents, you have a child diagnosed with ADHD, you don't know what to do, you disagree with the diagnosis, here, I'm gonna help you. He started out as that to now what he's doing today, which is talking about the community and specifically Black women, talking about his Shango stick, using stereotypic talking points, and really just in general trying to degrade the community and Black women at large. He's also shifted, right? He started off as a person who was just, I think he was just pro-Black community, right? He was a Pan-African, or still is a Pan-African. He started off as that, and now he has the same talking points. His video recently named she has 6 kids and 6 baby daddies. Now, I just wanted to share that the title is actually not going to have anything to do with the actual subject matter of the stream. I'm just going to put that out there. Has absolutely almost nothing to do with it. All right, he literally just chose, he said, you know, what's going to get people to click on this video? Okay, I'm going to title it, she has 6 kids and 6 baby daddies. But really what he's doing on this video is something a little different. So let's hear, what does Umar Johnson have to say today?
My cousin has 6 children, 6 different fathers. Unfortunately, she's become addicted to everything.
This aunt was stuck in a tough situation when her niece came to her for help.
And essentially abandoned all of her kids. So they're my second cousins. I was there when she gave birth to most of them, but they're really more like my nieces and nephews. So 3 of them were going to come and stay with me, 3 of the girls. And before they came, they were staying with someone else. And I was busy trying to get them enrolled in school and setting things up. And the oldest one called and told me that she didn't want to go to school. That mentally she wasn't prepared to go back. It was, basically a BS excuse for wanting to do what she wanted to do. And I told her, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're 17. You're a senior in high school. You don't have any children. There's no reason for you not to go back to school. Well, I feel like I'm old enough to be able to make my own decisions, and I'm just calling to tell you that I'm not going. And I told her, well, you can't come and live with me if you're not going to go to school. And
So let's kind of take a few steps back, right? So Dr. Umar Johnson, obviously, I believe he was on some type of live stream, I believe maybe Instagram or something, but he was on some type of live stream that actually allowed people to join and kind of share questions or advice that they needed from Umar, right? And so this sounds like a made up story, but let's pretend that this is a real story. And this is a woman who basically is saying that she has a cousin who fits every stereotype, right? 6 baby daddies, 6 kids, 6 baby daddies, they each got their own dad. And now she has offspring, and those offspring have become an extension of everything that she stands for, and those kids are coming to her for help. And so she's going to talk about this scenario where she's coming for help, but just keep in mind, why is she calling Umar Johnson? All right, this is what I want to know. Why would she be calling Dr. Umar Johnson, who he doesn't have a connection with any of his biological children? We saw what happened with Anissa. Okay, she doesn't talk to him. She doesn't even talk to her own mom. She has mental health crises that you can tell are happening. She obviously is not 100% there, right? Then you have his younger child, who luckily that parent has shielded her almost entirely from online. Most of us, unless we went deep to dig, we didn't find this child. We're not really looking for her, but we know based off of the court records by Lennon Honor that he's not present for any of his children. He has child support orders for all of his children, or at least 2 of them. But he doesn't have custody of his kids. He's not been able to amicably raise his children or successfully co-parent. He's a psychologist because he has a degree. He's not practicing. I don't even believe he has an active license. So my question again is, why is this woman calling Dr. Umar Johnson? Is he going to start a therapy practice? Is he going to start advising Black people now that he's burned through all the school money? Is he now going to be an online therapist or family therapist? Right? Is that the next avenue that he's going down?
Told her This is a warning. If you do not go back to school, you'll be pregnant by the end of the year, before the end of the year is out. Well, I don't think so, and I don't care, and you're not my mom, so I don't have to do what you're telling me to do. So she didn't come to my house, and the next time I heard from her was when she was abandoned. Someone left her in an apartment somewhere, and word got back to me, and she asked if she could come to my house. It was 2:00 in the morning. I told her, sure, of course. I got an Uber for her. She came over. I opened the door. Dr. Umar,
So I don't know how real this is, right? Again, we don't know how real this scenario is, but let's just take a look at what she's saying. So one, she's saying that she has a cousin who did not properly raise her children. So basically, she has 6 kids with 6 dads. She has not been raising those kids in a familial home. They're not getting any type of real home training. She just has been having children and with a bunch of different fathers. So these kids, by her own admission, have not been getting any proper raising at home. But notice how her response is, "Oh, I'm not going to help that girl," and then it got back to me that she needed help because she was, stuck out there, by herself or whatever. Yeah, let's seek advice from Umar. Umar doesn't have any advice to give anyone, right? That's why I'm really trying to figure out how somebody who doesn't even have custody of his own children, he has not proven the ability to raise amicably a child with somebody that he's not in a relationship with. He has not proven any of that. But somehow this woman is on here basically saying that she abandoned her nieces and nephews when they came to her for help. That's really what she's going to get down to saying. But even worse, she's asking Umar for help. Umar, now let's see what Umar's response is going to be, because Umar, as much as he likes to get on here and do his form of gender banging, he's also going to try and speak in the most rational way when he's responding, because this is how he gets his audience, right? By giving that good advice when he, framing his streams like this of like, oh, I'm going to give advice. That's what he did with the Black boys, right? I'm going to build a school, but let me give you advice on Black children and the ADHD diagnosis, right? So let's hear what Umar is going to have to say about what she's sharing.
6 weeks away from her due date. I had no idea that she was pregnant.
Wow.
6 weeks away from her due date. So I prepared the guest room. I could tell that she was hungry. She was shaken. I just wanted to make her comfortable for that night. The next day, we had a conversation about her future and her plans. And I told her, you need to get your GED before the baby is born, because your life isn't going to get easier once the baby comes. That's your rent. That's what you have to do. So she agreed, and I got her some study books from the library and materials, and they were collecting dust on a shelf in my house. So one day I told her, look, we're now 5 weeks away from your due date. You need to start studying to take your GED. I'll pay for it. I could tell that she was reluctant, but I set her down at my kitchen table and I told her, let's start with your strongest subject, which is English. I'm going to go get my hair done, which is going to be a few hours. I want you to do this section and take the practice test, and I'll score it when I come home. She had an attitude, but she did it. I came home. I scored the test. Out of 45 questions, she missed 37. And she was telling me, I don't need to go to these classes because I was a senior in high school. I don't need.
So let's pause there, right? So this is a girl who is a teen mom. So she's pregnant as a teenager, right? We already know how pregnancy affects grown women. So obviously, this is going to be affecting a teenager thrice, right? So she already has a heightened sense of emotion because she's a young woman. She's 16, 17. That's a time where there's a lot of hormones present already. And then you throw in a pregnancy. Yes, she's not going to be able to focus. So not only that, but you're pressuring her to take this test, and then you're going to air out, whether she watches Dr. Umar or not, you're also going to air out that you pressured her to take this test. You didn't actually put any effort into helping her study for it, right? Because you went to go do your hair while she stayed home to study for a test that she really hasn't had the time to do, right? Now you're dragging her and saying, well, she failed the test. She did so horrible on it. XYZ. She obviously wasn't ready. You literally just said yourself that instead of helping her study for the test or helping her study the material, you went and got your little 92-inch Yaki installed, right? So obviously this girl's education is not your priority. I'm not saying that people are supposed to drop their life 100% for anybody that they want to help in their family. But if you're at least gonna speak about the help that you try to give for that individual, at least show effort wise that you were trying to put that effort into her, not just telling us, right? You basically just said, I didn't do anything for her, but tell her to take a test, give her the materials, and go get my hair done. And then when I came back and she wasn't done and she wasn't prepared, all I did is judge her, right? That's basically what she's saying here. Let's continue though.
Need to go. I don't have to study for this test. I can pass it. When I showed her the test, she started crying and she said, "Of course I didn't pass the practice test because I didn't want to do it." That didn't end well, Dr. Umar. It didn't end well. Now I'm an old school.
Has anybody in the chat, do me a favor, have you guys ever heard a teenager, a 17-year-old, say that they didn't want to do something? I mean, let's be real. Is that something that should have been so surprising coming from a family member who claims to have gone through similar things and so she understands and has sympathy? Is it really surprising that a 17-year-old said, mind you, one who's pregnant, I don't want to do that?
Child, like those old school manners, yes ma'am, no ma'am, etc., etc. These new kids are different. They're entitled, they're disrespectful, they're ungrateful, and I admit that I lost patience with her, Dr. Umar.
And let me just say this. I'm only 30 years old, but I'm no different than anybody else. I'll get up here and be like, oh, these kids of today, they don't have no respect. But when it comes to this situation, I'm hearing two things. One, I'm hearing projection, right? You're projecting your idea of manners and being proper on kids who you yourself started the stream by saying, oh, their mom has 6 kids and 6 baby daddies and she's a crackhead and they're crack babies. That's what you have to say about these children. Now you're talking about who has yes ma'am, no ma'am manners about the same kids that you just said you know for a fact that they are crack babies who are raised by a mom who's irresponsible. This is her own words. This is her own sharing. This is not my opinion on how I feel about her cousin or whoever who has 6 kids and 6 baby daddies. These are her words. This is how she's indicting her own family or friend.
It was scary, like my level of rage for her disrespect. I had to put her out. I told her she had to go. This is just.
Now, does that sound like a loving family member? I told her she had to go. My rage in response to her saying that she didn't want to do the test, right? This is a pregnant teenager. My rage was just so mad because this girl doesn't have proper manners. I mean, what kind of hellish mammy? What is this? I mean, she sounds like she doesn't even like this family member.
It's the summarized version of what happened. So my question to you is, was that appropriate? When do you start having adult-like conversations?
To the comment here, Gordon says, what's her situation have to do with Dr. Umar? Well, let me tell you what it has to do with Dr. Umar. For one, this video was uploaded to Dr. Umar's channel. Okay? For two, it's titled, she has 6 kids and 6 baby daddies. So that means this story was a story that Dr. Umar wanted to use to say whatever message that he had, either whether it be about women and their baby daddies or the issues that we have in the community with making families or children that we're not raising, whatever. This is the story that he decided to use as an example. So perhaps you should listen to what Dr. Umar has to say before you ask what her situation has to do with Dr. Umar. All right, put on your listening ears.
Conversations with these kids who think they know everything and they don't know anything, and you know that they're traumatized. Her mom's abandoned her, she's a crackhead, she doesn't know where her dad is, all of her other siblings are literally scattered to the 4 corners.
Wow. Okay, just keep in mind, she's a crackhead, she's abandoned, she don't know nothing, she don't have no family, blah blah blah. She got all these problems. That's how she's talking about her own niece. She's not highlighting anything positive about this girl. She didn't say smart girl who reading or oh, I'm sorry guys. Can y'all still hear me? I'm showing as if I lost connection. You guys let me know if you can still hear me. I'm gonna go check on my stream from over here. See if I can do that. Hold on. See if I can check on my stream and make sure you guys can still hear me. Oh, I'm sorry guys. Alright, you guys can still hear me, but you can't see it for some reason. I'm sorry, I don't know what is going on with YouTube or Restream, whichever one it is that's malfunctioning right now. Let me put Umar's video back up. Now, like I was mentioning, she wasn't mentioning any. This person who's in the video, they don't get a one as a teen. I'm sorry, Lana. I'm not trying to. I can't make out what you're trying to say there. But I think that what she's trying to say is that this teenager doesn't have any, manners or values. And, she really has nothing positive or redeemable. But it's like, first of all, this is your niece, right? If you know all these things about her history and her parent and what they did or didn't do for her, why would you then use that as a weapon against her, right? Or talk down on her publicly. So let's say your niece does listen to this and she hears the story and it sounds familiar and she recognizes it. How would she feel about what you were saying, right? With the things that you're saying about her to Dr. Umar on the stream, would you say it to her? And if you would, do you not see the lack of empathy in how you're speaking to the girl? I don't know how much you guys missed, so I'm gonna replay just the last minute or so you guys can hear her breaking down what the situation was. But from what it sounds like is she was critiquing this girl the whole time that she claims that she was trying to be available as a family member, as a support. Lana Love said, teenagers don't get a choice. They will learn, but we have to work with them and gain their trust. That's the main thing, though, Lana. I think that when you do gain the trust of a young person, of a teenager, you're able to go that much further. But if you keep trying to play this power struggle of like, I'm the adult, you don't get a choice, you do what I say all the time, even if it is the case that they have to do what you say, at least offer a choice to that young person. Right? At least still try to gain their respect and their trust. But I think that doesn't happen a lot of times. And from her language, the language that she uses to describe the little girl, for me, it's giving that she was never that positive support for her in the first place. So let's play back that last minute and we'll continue.
Everything. And they don't know anything. And you know that they're traumatized. Her mom's abandoned her. She's a crackhead. She doesn't know where her dad is. All of her other siblings are literally scattered to the four corners of the nation. No one knows what's going on with anyone, so she's hurting and she's angry, which I get. I'm a former foster care kid myself. I tried to empathize with her. I tried to tell her, look, I understand how you feel. And she told me, no, you don't know shit. See, I can't. I'm very patient, Dr. Umar, but disrespect, especially from children, is a hard stop for me. So I guess my question is, do you think that I hurt her more than I helped her by basically telling her what's what and then putting her out my house?
And let me just tell you something. There's a reason why, if this is a real scenario, that this is being brought up. Right? She's saying to herself that she's really asking, like, did I go it too far? Am I the reason why she's reacting in this negative way? I think two things can be true, right? I think that this girl was going to do what she was going to do regardless. I think young people have to make their mistakes before they'll be able to grow. But I also think that this woman, this grown woman who is much older than her, she talked about having made it out of the foster care system. I don't think she's doing her any favors either. She's not actually helping this young girl, because if she really wanted to help her, she would try to get through to her with words. She wouldn't get hung up on the disrespectful things that she says. It doesn't mean that you don't hold the girl accountable for how she's behaving or let her know that disrespect is not tolerated. But I think that kids can feel genuity. They can feel genuine energy. So if you're doing things just to say that you're doing stuff, I think that a young person is going to feel that. So if they look at you and you're their aunt and they don't feel like you're trying to help them because you genuinely care about them and you want to see them better, right? Let's say that they do somehow hear the words that she's using to describe her niece today, right? How would she think that that aunt sees her? She wouldn't feel anything positive from the words, oh, she's a crackhead, her family's scattered all over the place. I know what it feels like because I was in the system too. If you're in the system too, why would you want to be describing someone you love like this? It doesn't mean to coddle her, but where's the positive? Where's the balance? Right? We talk about yin and yang and how you need balance in order for things to, go the way they're supposed to. But if the only thing you have to say about her right now, because you're mad at her and you're still questioning whether you were too harsh, is still negative, then yeah, I think you were too harsh. I think it's safe to say you were too harsh. And I think it's safe to say that, yes, this girl might have still made the mistakes that she was going to make. But I think that one thing that people need to learn how to do better instead of criticizing young people is learning how to reach them and learning how to speak their language, right? Meeting people where they're at. I think that's something that the generations have really struggled to pass down and continue to do. I think that even when I was young, I felt like older people were really out of touch. But I can only imagine what it feels like now with technology and all the advancements in the world to still have adults trying to deal with young people the same way and not evolving and seeing the differences now. And so I definitely think the approach needs to change. This is not to say that young people don't need to take responsibility and build structure and discipline and actually get off of social media and go out into the world and build their character up and have experiences and learn. No one's saying they don't need to do that. They definitely need to do that. But I think that sometimes it's easy for the older generations to get up here and just say, oh, these young people are so disrespectful. They don't know what they're doing. Let's say that you are a granny right now and that's how you feel about young people. What young person did you raise that is the parent of that young generation, right? That thinks like that and talks like that. Where would these girls that you say yourself, self-proclaim that these girls have no chance? They're children of single mothers, children of baby daddies or whatever, of deadbeats. Where were they supposed to learn manners then? You as an outsider who is seeing all their experiences and understanding, where were they supposed to get that mentorship, that positive mentorship, if not from the people who were supposed to provide it, right? The people who birthed them and brought them into the world. If you're yourself as an adult can admit that those people didn't do what they were supposed to do, how are you going to contribute to that young person's life versus make it worse? I mean, she talks about multiple times where the girls had no one to reach out to but her. And she still is very comfortable not having a positive relationship with this girl.
The fact that you gave her a place to stay before she got pregnant and she left and got pregnant and came back, I feel like you definitely did your job in trying to help her. And I don't think you have to tolerate disrespect. I do wonder, though, were you too forceful with her?
And you know it's bad when Dr. Umar has to say, hey, was your approach hard? And we can tell by the way she described it. If she was sugarcoating it the way she was just to tell us, imagine what the vitriol she was speaking to that young girl with was. If we could feel it just the way she was talking about her, just imagine what the young girl felt and the vibes that she was emitting to that young girl.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, I have a bachelor's in communication. I like to consider myself a skilled communicator. So I can switch up my vernacular when and where necessary. But when she took it to that grown woman level, I had to meet her there.
Right. But she's still a child, though, even though she took you to the grown woman.
So why does a man have to tell you, a woman, that just because she took it there, which children are going to do, children are going to push you as far as they can, doesn't mean you got to take it there with her. She's your niece. And yes, she's going to take it to hell. She's young. She's learning. She's emotional. Pregnant. Let's not forget that. She said this young girl is pregnant. And you're literally checking her about her tone and how she's speaking. Like, literally, not that she's, in your house, destroying your house. Not that she's messing with the rules in your house. She's literally just having conflict with you in arguments. The fact that he has to tell her this, like she's still a child, and you can't even see it as a woman, you can't even see her as a young girl, it's a little disturbing, right? This right here, this woman who's talking, if this is a real story, like I said, if it's real, she's giving Mammy. Like I almost want to pull out the Mammy DSM for this one. All right, it's giving Mammy. It's giving I struggle, so you need to struggle and learn how to have manners and be like how I was when I like. She's projecting her experience onto this young girl. She's not even listening to her. She's simply critiquing her and being so brash with her that a man has to tell her she's still a kid and you still have to have empathy. You know, very disturbing.
On the level, she's still a child.
Yes. But, sometimes I say, sometimes you have to lower your vibrational frequency, like Lauryn Hill says, so these ignorant niggas can hear you. Like I felt like otherwise she wouldn't have. I think I was being too nice. I think letting her come here after I told her she couldn't come when she refused to go to school may have been a mistake because she wasn't maybe taking me seriously.
Okay.
What do you think?
I wish we could have gotten some counseling before we sent her on her way. I would have liked to see how she would have responded.
I tried.
You did try that.
They
notice how even Umar is like, damn, like you're just giving up on the kid, you're just throwing it out there. You basically said because she came at you like a woman, you're gonna treat her like a woman. This is a little girl at the end of the day. I don't care if she's 17, 18, 19. That's still a young girl. She has no experience. Her mind is still developing. If it was a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old boy, I would say the same thing. Right? Each of them with their unique challenges, male and female, but it's the same thing. Still underdeveloped, still overly emotional, still very hormonal, still very much in the crux of puberty. I mean, her response is ridiculous. That's why Umar has all these stupid. I mean, he always has these stupid facial expressions. But that's why he's trying to tell her, like, hey, you still gotta be empathetic. Like, she's still a kid. Like, you can't take it to hell with her just because she took it there. I mean, she's a teenager. You know, if we all stoop to the level of a teenager, where would we all be? You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, teenagers need to be put in their place, but there's a way. Even when I was young and I was acting out of pocket and not a fool, people still dealt with me with grace. Even as an adult, when I make stupid decisions and my life, the choices that I make in my life make it very clear that I'm not thinking or using any logic, right? People still treated me with, grace and kid gloves. And I do think that to some extent, we got to have grace with each other, but definitely with our young people. They don't know anything. They're really only a product of their environment and the people who were raising them while they're young, because while they're young people, they really don't have a choice. All they have is those adults who are supposed to be steering them in the right direction. Let's continue.
They think they know everything, Dr. Umar. These are not they're not our generation. They don't understand that they're a child's place. They never, and I think it's because they're exposed because
and let's just take it there, right? Because why not? He chose this video. So we learned from some people who came out later to expose Dr. Umar that he was sent to military school. Right? He actually had times in his life where he was going to quote unquote be misdiagnosed with ADHD. Right? He himself can talk about the times when he was not in a child's place. Right? he can say it. He can have empathy for that because he's been there. Or maybe he could just have sympathy. Because he's been there. He's been that child that took it to hell, and maybe an adult took it there with him, and that's why he has empathy or sympathy. Yeah, they say this every generation. Oh, these kids are different. First of all, the world is different. the world is completely different. These kids have access to a world that you, when you were a young whippersnapper yourself, she probably 40, 30 years old. When you were young, you didn't have access to the world that that young woman has, right? There's a whole nother world. And it was very easy to help this young girl. And the fact that she didn't says something about her character, right? It says something about her ability to reach a young person. You know, some of the most fulfilling work that I did was showing a young person that they had another option, another choice in life. That they didn't have to go down that same path that everybody in their generation has. Right? I think that that's something that has brought me a lot of joy. So I don't understand how, you know, Umar is an educator. He's listening to this, and this is a video he chose to share, and be like, okay, this is a woman who's talking about the deadbeats in her family, and she's not even handling this child with empathy. This is why I said I think the title was completely unrelated, because he should have said here, Dr. Umar does family therapy or something. But instead, he chose to highlight 6 kids, 6 baby daddies. They are not like us is BS. Yeah, exactly. And again, she's saying that she's an Umar generation. Umar is 50 years old. So is she like a Gen X? There's several. There's generations after that. Gen X, Gen Millennials, Gen Z. Is she comparing herself as a Gen X to the kids who are young right now? It's weird, you know. For me, it's strange. All right, we're gonna do like another couple minutes of this, and then I'm gonna send you guys off. I do have to head out of here in like 5 or 10 minutes. So let's get into it.
Of the internet and social media, they're exposed to material that they really shouldn't be seeing, hearing until much older in life. And because they can get these likes and follows, they think they're mini celebrities. No one's aspiring to be a doctor or a lawyer anymore. They all want to be an influencer and they want to do lashes, and it gives them a false sense of entitlement. And they think that they have license to address adults as though they are adults, because you know it's not this. They're not.
And I think it's interesting that he brought up that little dusty statistic about 7 in 10 kids use TikTok. Right, so this is the percentage of U.S. teens who use TikTok. Let's look at the percentage of adults who use all these same social media. Right, because while we can complain about young people in their heads being stuck on the internet, right? I think the world has shifted its focus to the internet. And that is why some young people feel like there's more power in social media than there is in building yourself up character wise. Right? They watch people on social media build fame and wealth, and they watch people all over the world worshiping that. Right? Adults love to complain about how much young people use social media, as if they don't look to social media in the same way. There's a 40-year-old right now posting a mirror selfie. There's an old man right now uploading a picture of himself at a nightclub with Bob. Stop playing. Right? People are using the internet. People have no personality outside of the internet. Right? So how are we going to reach these kids who they see the internet, they see all the information, and they have this information overload where they have access to all these different things, all these talking points, all these niche things, right? TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all those social medias and all the different things on those social. How are we going to get the attention of young people and the respect of them, and also teach them how to respect each other and themselves? Instead of having these stupid conversations where a grown woman is just kind of speaking bashful towards a young person. This is not going to get a young person to open up to you.
Anymore. They all want to be an influencer and they want to do lashes, and it gives them a false sense of entitlement, and they think that they have license to address adults as.
And let me just say this, Chad Ochocinco is a grown man, you know, 50s, 40s, however old you want to call him. He does nails. I mean, not nails, he does lashes and wigs. Is a young person dumb for seeing Chad Ochocinco as a businessman and wanting to do the same thing that he does? Wanting to have a lash business or do hair or start a med spa or med boutique? I think the young people should reach as far as they want. How are we going to reach them so that they can see success in themselves? So they can learn to put in the work to build themselves instead of us just criticizing every next generation that we don't understand. Because that's what her and Umar are really doing in this little raggedy video.
Though they are adults, because it's not they're not of our generation.
Yeah.
Even though I made peace with what happened, that it still nags at me a little bit. Did I fail her? Did I give up too soon?
Question: did you cease all communication, or are you still communicating with her?
Well, I absolutely ceased all communication. Absolutely.
Do we know where she is and how she's doing right now?
I hear things here and there that she's couch surfing with this newborn. Well, I think the baby might be around one now, which is exactly what I told her would happen when I asked her, what is your plan? I have plans. I have friends. They're going to babysit for me and I'm going to get a job. And I told her, yeah, that sounds nice.
Yes, you're an adult who is able to properly future plan and predict what a young, impressionable, emotional, lonely, unloved child is going to do. You yourself that this young girl was abandoned by her parents. Her siblings are scattered around the world. She has nobody. She literally just has you. And you said, I'm never going to talk to her again. I threw her out in the street. She doesn't think that I'm an open person to talk to. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And if Umar's intention here is to try to highlight how a negative woman can really hurt a child, then that's exactly what he's doing. But I do think that he just thought this was a spicy conversation to have where he could be trying to give some like psychological advice. Right? But I'm hearing a lot of disturbing things, especially coming from a woman. And it doesn't sound like she has any kids. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if she mentions that, but it doesn't sound like she has any children because the way she's talking about children as if they always say the right thing, or even as if when she was a child, she always said the right thing and had proper manners. Like kids used to step out of line all the time and they still do. They always will.
But it's highly unlikely. It's implausible. Do you know what that means? That's what I asked her. Highly unlikely to occur. Do you know how much childcare is? Do you think that your friends who are also 17 and 16 years old are going to give up their free time to watch your baby? Do you think life is going to get easier when the baby comes out? Why do you think I'm trying to push you to get to GED now?
Let me ask you a question. And I agree with everything you're saying with regard to your messages to her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you met her with enough empathy emotionally in your dialogue?
Yes, sir, I do.
You don't think you came off as a drill instructor?
No. You see, I get that a lot. I don't know if you remember, but I'm a poet, a provocative spoken word artist. So yeah, I did, I was trying to help her understand that I understood by sharing what I went through when I was her age. I asked her, do you know what I would have given for someone to have offered to come and stay in their $500,000 home in the guest room for free? And the only thing they wanted from me was just to go back to school. I understand your rage about being abandoned by your mother, who is your primary source, supposed to be your primary source of love and support, and what that feels like, alone and adrift and scary. It's terrifying. You don't understand shit. Hold on. It didn't come out as smoothly as I'm saying it to you now because I had to keep telling her I'm still talking. First I talk, then you talk. Mm-hmm. First listen, and then you can talk.
And this is something that older folks just have not learned. Like, this was a moment for you to shut up and listen to this young girl. It wasn't a moment for you to beat down on a lesson or make your I told you so point. That's not what this young girl needed. Right? Like you said, life was going to teach her, and it surely did. She needed empathy. She needed someone to listen to her and treat her with kindness, right? But instead, you met her with a punch, right? A punch down on, hey, this is what I said was going to happen, and look what happened with your life. I told you were going to be messed up. Look at you. I know you didn't have a mom or nothing, and you should have learned better. I knew it. That's what she sounds. She sounds bitter, cold, harsh. This doesn't sound like somebody that had this young woman's best interest at heart. And you can't convince me that she did just off of what we're hearing, right? Only thing I'm hearing here is disdain, projection, right? She's not even listening to this girl's trauma. She's just projecting her own experience and her own understanding herself. She's saying, well, I wish I would have had what I'm offering you. I wish. And I never did. So I built it for myself. And now that I'm giving it to you, it's not genuine. I just wanted to say that I have all this to give you, but I'm not going to give it to you. And that's really what she's doing to this young lady. She didn't offer her anything. You know, and seeing it, her recognizing that this girl doesn't have anything or anyone that cares about her. And that life is treating her cold, and she's just looking at her like, did I do her wrong? Yes, you did. That's why you're asking yourself. That's why you're questioning your decision. Because if you were comfortable with this, she says the baby's a year old now. If you were comfortable with your decision, you might have started feeling okay with it by now. When I make the right choice, I don't always jump and start, oh, did I do the right thing? A lot of the times you go with your intuition, you find that you don't have a lot of that second guessing. But I think that she knows that she was overly harsh. I mean, she's not even letting Umar tell her that she was harsh.
It just didn't go over well. Well, if you don't want to talk to me, let's talk to a therapist. Maybe they can help. No, nobody knows anything. Do you know what it feels like to not be? Even though I told her I know what it feels like to be abandoned by your mom. I tried, Dr. Umar. I just didn't have any more patience.
And I think some of these people who do suffer trauma, right? I'll give her some grace, even though she didn't give her niece no grace. I do think sometimes people who suffer from trauma, they project and they're not able to see the same humanity that they wish that they had. They're not able to give it, right? And it comes from that, like, you can't give from an empty cup. If you've never healed or dealt with that part of your life where no one loved you or held you like a baby, you're not going to be able to love or hold anybody and make someone feel safe enough to take those chances on themselves and improve their life. You're not going to be able to give that to another young person if you never healed from that heartbreak yourself, right? Because she talks about being abandoned, about being lost in the foster care system, right? Of having nobody. And yet this is a family member of hers. So she never had any of these family around. But this is a family member of her that she has the opportunity to be around for. She talks about being successful and having money. And yet she's still not willing or able to do it. And it's really just kind of sad. So anyways, let me send you guys off with a quick song. And I'll see you all on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me here today. On your way out, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Seems like I push against the clouds. They just keep blocking out the sun. It seems since I was born, I've wakened every blessed morning, down on my luck and up against the wind.
I had to open my eyes to see who real and see who fake. I walked through the rain and still feel pain from rainy days. I see my pulse laid in that casket, I felt all that pain. But all these people got the nerves to tell me that I changed. My grandma lost her only son, I gotta be the man. But lately I've been steady slack, it's time for things to change. A lot of people think y'all know me, y'all don't know a thing. Y'all only know just what I say and all that I portray. Lately I've been playing games and ain't no time for play. Broke as hell down bad, I need to find a play. Call me a dog, but I had a play and they put me on game. I can't be mad cause I should play, but we all could've ate. Sat at that table, see me starving and ate in my face. They called yourself a real nigga, I just can't relate. I put this on the dead and gone that we gon' make a way. Bad today, good tomorrow, give it all it takes. We all got our times, I guess I just got a little weight. Stay down when it's my time, y'all remember my name. I stay down when it's my time, y'all remember my name. I take, I pick my head up, pave the way. People dying every day, long as I'm here, we gon' be straight. I'm on a money chasing mission, like a fat girl chasing cake. Loyalty, our values, everything, I'm talking to the franks. If you don't live by these rules, then you the type to be a snake. I put the pen right to the pad and wonder how much I relate. So if you say you don't relate to this, might never feel this pain. Like, you might never feel this pain. Like, feel like my back against the wall, this one. I had to open up my eyes to see the real and see the fake. I was walking through the rain and still feel pain from rainy days. I see my pops laid in that casket, still that pain ain't go away. But all these people got the nerves to come and tell me that I changed. My grandma lost her only son, so now I gotta